Good afternoon. Today's a pretty sad day in Missouri. It's a pretty sad day for our democracy. I've said a lot over the last few weeks about the challenges that we're up against here with this special session. And one of my biggest issues with what's happening here in Missouri is that I don't think enough people really understand the consequences of what's happening here right now. And not just here in Missouri, but what happened in Texas, what's going to happen in Indiana, what's going to happen in Ohio. And today, when all eyes were on Missouri, so much so that C-SPAN was covering our debate, our feed cut out over and over again. Incidentally, a lot of that happened while Democrats were speaking. Democracy dies in the dark. Democracy dies in the dark. I'm grateful for you all being here. I'm grateful to every single Missourian who tuned in to watch this fight. And I'm really sorry your Missouri legislature has let you down once again. I'm grateful to be joined here today by my colleagues. House Democrats have put up an incredible fight. I'm so proud of the work that we've done and the fight that we've given. We knew we were sent here with an impossible task. We knew coming into this special session we would lose. We knew that. But we showed up. And we will keep showing up because the fight didn't end today. There's a lot of fight left. Missouri's just the latest, but it's happening all over the country. Happy to take questions.
What does the next chapter of that fight look like? Can voters veto these maps?
Absolutely. I expect a citizens' referendum as soon as this passes the Senate.
Do you know who's going to sponsor something like that or head that up?
I'm not sure yet, but I have heard some folks talking about it, so I'm certain it's in the works.
Representative, do you feel like there's still any legal arguments you guys can make through lawsuits or the courts? Is that still on the table?
Absolutely. Yes, this is unconstitutional. We've said it from the beginning, and we will fight this in the courts.
Representative, when we saw this happen in Texas, Democrats there pushed for other states to counteract or counterbalance what happened there. Are you making any calls for lawmakers in other states to undo what Missouri is doing?
Absolutely. And I think the challenge with that, unfortunately, though, is that all of our state constitutions allow for different procedures here, right? And I'm pretty sure that those who have already spoken out and offered to do that work are the only ones whose constitutions allow them to do so. So I'm not really sure exactly who would be next in that to ask, because honestly, I think that between California and New York and Illinois, we've had, those conversations have been had, but there aren't very many blue states whose constitution allows it. Same as with us. That's why not every single red state in the country is being targeted with what Trump is doing right now. They think Missouri's constitution allows it, so they're trying it. We disagree.
Can you clarify, it was just 3 or 4 weeks ago that you said it's not good for America for red states to get redder and blue states to get bluer. Are you now saying you do want to fight that fire with fire?
I think both things can be true. I do not believe that our country is stronger when our states become bluer and redder. When we pull into our hyper-partisan corners, I think that's bad for America. I also think that in this moment, when our democracy is under attack from the federal administration, the only recourse we have is to fight back using the exact same tactics they're using. I don't like it, and I wish it wasn't so. And I will remind everyone that the only people in Congress who have offered a nationwide fair redistricting bill have been Democrats. And when they're proposed, Republicans vote against them.
Representative, when it comes to Kansas City specifically, whether it's federal grants, representation from the federal level in any kind, what are your biggest concerns that Jackson County and Kansas City could face being carved up like this in those areas?
Well, speaking as someone who resides in the 6th Congressional District, I am in Kansas City and also represented by Sam Graves. So, I already know what Kansas City looks like when it's split up. We're currently split up. Now, the challenge with being split into 3 congressional districts in this moment, there are a few problems with that. One, Sam Graves and Emmanuel Cleaver are long-standing congresspeople. They have worked together well, they work across the aisle well, they are friends, and they work together to deliver for Kansas City. Under these new maps, they are erasing Emmanuel Cleaver from Congress, essentially. He will be replaced, likely, with a Republican from a more rural part of our state. So when you think about the representation that will be offered to Kansas City, available to Kansas City after this map passes, we now have 3 rural Republicans representing pieces of Kansas City. Whose priority is that going to be? At a time when Republicans' #1 priority is destroying government and pointing to failed government and blaming Democrats for it. It's going to be devastating.
Tomorrow, a large crowd of folks are expected from various groups and organizations. What do you hope they accomplish? What's your message to them today?
My message to Missourians who have been involved in this fight and are watching this fight and are going to join us tomorrow at the Capitol, or who can't join us here at the Capitol, is we see you and we share your frustration. We welcome you to the people's house. This is your house. This is where you are heard. This is where you should be heard. I'm really excited to see the folks coming here tomorrow, folks who are participating in their democracy, who understand that politics doesn't just happen. Politics touches every single one of us, and if we're not engaged, this is what happens.
You just predicted that Democrats will lose those congressional districts in the newly redrawn map. Do you not believe your message can connect with those new voters?
I believe that the way these lines have been drawn is hyperpartisan gerrymandering. It has been done on racial lines. We know that because they have no demographic data to provide us. So if you think about that, they can't tell us that they moved the lines because of registered Democrats or registered Republicans. So what metric do we think they used? Race.
In regard to the initiative petition reform, previously you and your caucus have accused the Republicans of calling voters dumb because of their, taking back Prop A and trying to overturn Amendment 3. If the initiative petition gets put to the voters and the voters vote for it, would you not be making the same claim that the voters didn't know what they were voting for?
I think that the challenge with that question is that we're talking about ballot measures that are placed on the ballot by a supermajority Republican legislature that includes ballot candy every single time. This time, it's trying to tell the people of Missouri that we're keeping, foreign influences out of our government, which is already in state statute. They do this every single time. When you put your thumb on the scale, I think it's just really hard to determine what is and isn't fair anymore.
So voters are easily distracted by ballot candy?
I think that any of us would be distracted by something that really speaks to us. The average voter, and it's hard for me to put myself in the average voter's shoes sometimes because I'm so in this all the time, and so many of us are. But the average voter doesn't spend time reading pages of referendum language. They read the top lines. They listen to their friends. They listen to the media. And they read what's on the ballot. And when what's on the ballot obfuscates what's in the language, unfair playing field.
So when you combine the two bills that passed today, how did you describe what was done today?
Simply put, everything that happened today is an attack on one person, one vote in this state. What they have done with the initiative petition process, sabotaging it by requiring 8 of 8 congressional districts to approve, is essentially ending initiative petitions in the state of Missouri. That, plus the fact that the new lines where these ballot measures will have to be approved, we're moving the needle. It is the foundation of this country was not set up fairly. We all know that. We all know that. We know who was counted as a real person when America started. We know who was allowed to vote, who was allowed to own land. They put their fingers on the scale then. There were people in this country who had no access to their democracy. Democracy in Missouri at this point feels like a charade. Every single time folks go to the ballot box and tell their legislators what they want, they are ignored, they are overridden. That's not democracy.
Have Democrats seen any fundraising totals come up since this redistricting has been brought up? How are you guys doing with fundraising as far as that goes?
I don't want to talk about fundraising in the Capitol.
What message do you have to Democrats from other states who may be going through this or will be going through this in the future? You know, you guys, what were the big takeaways, I guess, from the last 2 weeks or week and a half?
You know, like I said, we knew that we were sent here on an impossible mission. We knew that we were coming down here to lose this fight. So the strategy was never to change hearts and minds. It rarely is in a building where there's a supermajority. But we had an opportunity in this special session to draw attention to what's happening here, to ring the alarm bells about the attacks on our democracy. That's what we saw in Texas. That's what we did here in Missouri. That's what I encourage my counterparts in Indiana and Ohio to do. In fact, we've got a few folks from Ohio, House leadership, coming here tomorrow to join us for the rally. Danny Isaacson, the minority leader, really looking forward to standing in solidarity. You know, a lot of us were in Boston a few weeks ago for a conference, a legislative conference, and it happened to be when Texas Democrats were leaving the state to deny quorum. We had the privilege of meeting several of them and standing alongside them. We stood alongside Democratic representatives from 36 states. That was really powerful. And that's what this will take. We gotta let folks know. We gotta let Missourians know. We gotta let the American people know. This is what the Trump administration is doing to our states. It is destroying our individual state sovereignty. It is destroying our ability to operate the way Missouri sees fit, which according to Mike Kehoe apparently is trying to match Washington, D.C.'s values. I don't know what that means, but.
In a state that passes progressive policy measures but clearly elects conservative Republicans, what do Democrats have to do to sort of break that trend in Missouri?
We need to speak to voters. We need to show up in parts of the state where they don't feel like they're being heard. And we need to hold the supermajority accountable at every single step. What they're doing here is despicable. It's despicable. Voters are telling them what they want over and over again. They are ignored over and over again. I'm frustrated, I'm sorry. It's, yeah.
what will be your message to Senate Democrats, or do you plan to meet with them either later today or before they begin tomorrow? What's that plan look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in touch with Senate Democrats through this whole process. You know, as hard as it is, we are going to be handing over this fight to them. You know, it's going to look a little different in the Senate than it did here. The Senate's procedures look different than they do here in the House. And, you know, I really I look forward to seeing what the fight looks like on that side of the building.
I just spoke to Representative Dirk Deaton outside. He kept claiming to me that he never felt pressured by the Trump administration. At the end of the day, he feels like, these were his words, I'm just quoting him, but he claims not pressured. He also claimed that this is still giving the people the power to vote in Cleaver if they choose to do so. What's your response to his claims both then and on the floor?
I will remind you what my colleague, Minority Whip Aaron Crossley, said on the floor today. The Republican members of the House are not only gaslighting Missouri, they are gaslighting themselves. Will you repeat your question? Sorry.
He claimed that there was
Right,
no pressure
right,
from the Trump
okay.
administration. He claims that this
Yep.
is still giving power to the people to vote in Cleaver
Yep.
if they choose to do so.
Yeah.
What's your response to those arguments?
Yeah. Well, of course he doesn't feel pressure. A lot of them didn't feel pressure. A lot of them were happy to do it. That's what happens when you're in a cult. You just blindly follow your leader.
Right.
Anything else?
Thank you all very much.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.